Well, welcome back and welcome to Chapter 3. We're just going to get a little bit of Chapter 3 covered in this particular recording. It's only going to be about 15 minutes, and it is about measures of central tendency or measures of central location, which are both just really fancy ways of saying averages. All right, so central tendency, central location, we're talking about averages. And I have this picture up here because I think it's a good illustration of what it means to be average, right? Wouldn't you say that relative to these other boats, this is an average boat? There's probably some huge cruise liner out here. Certainly that would not be average. A little fishing boat, 14-foot canoe would not be average or typical in this marina, but this is a fairly typical, it's an average boat. So really, that is what we mean when we talk about averages in statistics. So an average is just a typical or representative number, which represents the larger set of numbers. So if I have 50,000 scores, an average is going to be a score that is considered typical for that data set. It's going to be considered a representative number. All right, and it helps us, once we calculate an average, that helps us to get a sense of what our data looks like. So when we calculate an average, what we're doing is we're calculating a descriptive statistic. So remember that descriptive statistics describe or summarize a larger set of numbers so that we can make sense out of it. All right, now there are 3 different types of averages that we are going to learn about in this class. That's not to say that there aren't other ways of finding averages. It's just that these are the most common ways of calculating average. And so those 3 ways are the mean, the median, and mode. And we've talked a bit about each of these different kinds of averages. But in this chapter, I'm going to go into more detail so you can really understand what each of these averages does, and that will help you to pick the correct average to describe your data. Okay, now let me make sure that you understand this. If I ask for a definition of average, this is what you should tell me. If I ask for examples of average, then you tell me mean, median, and mode. The reason why I'm saying this is because it's happened many times in the past where I'll ask somebody, what is a definition for, and then a certain statistic? And instead of defining it, they just give me examples of it. All right, so make sure that you know the difference between a definition and then examples. Okay, now here's a little movie trailer, all right? Which one should you calculate? When do you calculate the mean, the median, or the mode? Which one do you choose? Now, we'll cover this in more detail later on in this chapter, but like I said, this is kind of like a movie preview here, all right? Spoiler alert. Number 1, which one you choose will partly be determined by the level of measurement for your variable. So was your variable measured on a nominal, ordinal, interval, or ratio scale? Remember, noir? So, let me digress for just a second here. This illustrates an important point. You'll learn something in this class, like you'll learn noir, the different scales of measurement, and then maybe you'll take a test on it, have a quiz on it or whatever, and you might think, oh, it's safe to forget about this now, right? I don't have to know what this means anymore. I've already been tested on it. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It's kind of like Jaws. Just when you thought it was safe to go in the water, Jaws comes back. All right. So this concept is going to appear over and over and over again throughout the course. Same thing about, averages. Everything basically that I talk about in this course is going to reappear later on in this course. So the challenge for you is to keep reviewing old material because it will come back to bite you. Well, hopefully not too hard. Okay, so the other thing that determines whether you'll calculate the mean, median, or mode is the shape of the distribution, whether it's normally distributed or not. So for example, is it normally distributed, positively skewed, or negatively skewed? All right, that's what we mean here when we say if it's normally distributed or not. We want to know about the shape. For example, positive skew, negative skew. That can affect which average you calculate.